Hello, welcome to Dibs on Blue. My name is Stephanie, and this is my sign name. Today I want to show you how to play this game, Fireball Island. Thank you to Restoration Games for sponsoring this video. You can play with 2 to 4 players, and the playtime is around 45 to 60 minutes. The goal is that you get off this helicopter and you go around the island and you collect treasures. And you go back to the helicopter, get on that, and then you leave. Whoever earns the most points during the game is the winner. So you connect the board pieces, and you can use these little screens on the sides to make the board look really nice. In the middle, you put down Volcar, who's at the top of the board, and he has to be pointing towards the helipad. You put down 2 bridges, and you also put down a ladder. There's several different trees, and all of their roots need to be pointing back to Volcar. There's 6 orange ember marbles all around the board. 1 red fireball needs to be placed in this area that we call the scar. And the heart of Volcar needs to be placed near Volcar. There are treasure tokens all around the board. You just kind of shuffle those up and place them all around the board where they need to go. There's a maw, and inside of that has a lucky penny. There's a cataclysm track that you also put down near the board. And it starts with 3 fireballs in it. There are 2 extra marbles in the game, and that's just because if you lose them, you'll have more. There's 12 snapshot cards, and you place those face up near the board. They have to be separated by color and name. There are 12 souvenir cards, and you shuffle those, and each player gets 1. You can look at it, but you want that to be a secret. Don't let any of the other players see the card. So you put that stack near the board. There are 30 action cards that you also shuffle, and each player gets 2. Again, you can look at those, but keep them a secret. Each player then chooses a color to play and gets a reference card that matches the color of the person they're playing. Put the helicopter right there, which is really called the hello-copter. And then whoever goes first is supposed to be the youngest player. And now we're ready to play. When it's my turn, I have 4 actions I can do. The first action is that if my person fell over, I have to stand back up, which I'll explain more about later. The second action is to play an action card, and you have to move that exact amount of spaces. At the start of the game, if I have to move a certain amount, then I get out of the helicopter and I move onto the helipad, and that costs 1 movement. Now, I continue my movement, but I can only walk on light brown spaces. So right now I have 3 different ways I can go. So you pick which path you want, When it's my turn, I cannot go a direction and then change directions and go back the same way I just came. You have to go straight. If there's a path that's a circular path, however, you can just keep going around that path if you want. If I come across a tree root, you just go over the tree root and continue the movement. Players cannot share the same space. If I'm trying to move and a player is in front of me and I want to go around that player, I just simply hop over that player and keep moving. If, for example, I have to move and I enter an area that has a number on it, that is considered a cave, and I have to roll this die. Then I have to move into an area that matches the number on the die. And then I can continue my movement. If I roll the die and it matches the number that I'm already on, I still have to move to another cave that matches that number. I can't just stay where I'm at. The only way that I do stay where I'm at is in a rare situation where other players are already occupying spaces with that same number. Because remember, you can't share the same space as another player. So if that happens, I just stay where I'm at and my movement is over. If I move and I get to a bridge or a ladder, I have to stop. If a player is already there, however, again, I would just hop over that player and continue my movement. If I move and I enter an area that has this red line in it, there's some treasure connected to that area. So I get to take a treasure. If there's more than one treasure available, like for instance this one has 3, then you just pick one. If there are many treasures available and I move and I stop on this area with the red line, then I get to take a treasure. But when it's my turn again, I also get to take a treasure at the start of my turn. And then continue my movement. If I get to this area right here, by the heart of Valkar, I get to take it. And I put it by me. Then I add a fireball from the Cataclysm track to the scar. If a player hops over me and I have the heart of Valkar, I have to give it to them. If I get to an area that has a snapshot icon, then I take the matching card, if it's available. But if I already have that card, I can't take it again. If I do get 3 different snapshot cards, then the helicopter will arrive. Action cards have directions that you should follow, but they also have some extra instructions after you move, which you can do if you want, but you don't have to. For example, this card says that you can rotate a tree or Valkar, but that's up to you. If it says to launch an Ember Marble, you just pick one around the board. You cannot flick it. You have to kind of push with your index finger. Your goal here is trying to get players to fall over. If I do launch a marble and a player falls over, they have to give me a treasure. If I launch a marble and I fall over, or I accidentally hit the table and I fall over, then I have to put a treasure in the maw. After a player falls over, they can draw 1 souvenir card. That has special instructions on it that have benefits that you can use during the game, and you can read what those are. If I launch a marble, and it kind of trails off the board, you leave it, but I lose one of my treasures, and I have to put it in the maw. If a card says Cataclysm, then you can rotate a tree or Valkar, and all of the Scar fireballs get put inside Valkar. Your hope here is that a player will fall over. After you play a Cataclysm card, it goes in the Cataclysm track. And once you have 3 of those cards, you take all 3 of those cards, plus any action cards that have been discarded, and you shuffle the action cards into the action card deck, which makes a new action card deck. Then you add a fireball into the Scar. Your third action is to pick an action card. The last action is to fix the island. Marbles have probably fallen all over the board, or maybe the bridges have been messed up, or the ladder fell over. You have to move everything back. If orange marbles have fallen off the board, you have to put those back and just fix the whole board to make it look normal again. You put fireballs back too into the Scar. You set up the bridges and the ladders. You also set up the treasures if they have fallen over as well. You put them back where they go. If all of the players have gotten out of the helicopter and they're on the board, then the helicopter leaves. Just set it aside. If a person fell down, but they're kind of in between 2 spaces, then that player would pick which space they stand up in. If a player fell over and they're in a river or a lava chute, then you follow that river or lava chute all the way to the end and stand up at the bottom. If a player has fallen off the board, then they would stand up at a cave, whichever one they choose. If a player falls in some weird area, like on top of a tree or something, then just stand up near that area. The game is over when a player has 3 different snapshot cards. Then they need to enter the helipad. Or if the Scar has 4 fireballs in it. If either of those happen, the helicopter arrives, and any player can get in the helicopter. But first, they have to get to the helipad, and then move 1 more into the helicopter. After players get in the helicopter, they stay, and then they look in the maw, and they choose one of the tokens that are in there. The helicopter is considered safe. You cannot fall down, but you can still play action cards. You just don't move. Action cards can still affect players. After all of the players get in the helicopter, or after the helicopter arrives, players have 2 turns left, and they just haven't gotten to the helicopter yet, then the game is over. Now everybody adds up their score. The back of the reference card shows how to add the score. It doesn't matter if you've gotten in the helicopter or not. The Heart of Valkar is worth 7 points. The lucky penny is worth 6 points. If you've gotten in the helicopter and you have snapshot cards, you earn points for those. Now you figure out your treasures and what they're worth. If you have 3 yellows, that would be 6 points. If you have 1 blue, that would only be 1 point. Whoever has the most points is the winner. If there's a tie, then the player who got into the helicopter first would be the winner. If nobody got into the helicopter, then it's whoever's closest to the helicopter would win. If there's still a tie, then you share the victory. For a 2-player game, there are special rules, which you can see in the rulebook. Well, that's it for explaining Fireball Island. Thanks again to Restoration Games for sponsoring this video. If you enjoyed watching, please subscribe, like, and share the link. You can follow Dibs on Blue on Facebook and Twitter at Dibs on Blue Games. The Facebook page has a friendly local game store list of stores who support this channel. So go check that out. If you have any comments or questions for me, please leave them below and I will gladly respond. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.